Now we're going to take a look at a few sentences that are either too long, they're run-on sentences and require revision either by adding punctuation or by breaking it up into smaller sentences, or we'll have sentences that are too short, they're choppy and repetitive, and we can combine them together into one long sentence. So let's look at the first example. Anne and Lee did an experiment. They collected leaves. So what's missing in this sentence in order to make it grammatical? Well, you can probably see that it's actually two sentences, not one sentence. So in the first sentence, we have Anne and Lee, what we would call a compound subject. And then the remainder here, with the predicate, did an experiment. So that is a complete thought. We can add a period here, capitalize the word they, and now we have two sentences. Anne and Lee did an experiment. They collected leaves. We could throw a conjunction in there, but I think it works better actually to have this broken up into two parts. Lee put dried leaves in a jar. Lee added tap water. So what do you think could be done with this sentence, or these two sentences rather, in order to make the writing a little more coherent and less choppy? So you might be thinking that what we can do here is certainly combine these two. And it's important that you take note of what's happening here mechanically. So we can take the subject Lee, which is being repeated twice, so that already kind of sounds, that kind of grates against the ear a little bit because we're being repetitive. Lee put this, and then Lee added this, where we could just start with one subject Lee, and we can combine the actions he's performing into one sentence. So first example, we had an example of a compound subject, and I would just like to note that here, when we combine these two in the revision, we'll have what we call a compound predicate, meaning the subject is performing two actions in this case. So a possible revision would be Lee put dried leaves in a jar, and then with an addition of a simple conjunction, and then we can describe the second part of the action, and added tap water. Combining the two smaller sentences into one longer sentence that just flows a lot better and sounds less choppy and repetitive. So looking at number 3, Anne waited 2 days. Lee waited 2 days, then recorded the plant's growth. All right. So take a look at this and think of ways that you might revise that. The first thing that stands out to me is that it would probably be a good idea to take our two subjects, Anne and Lee, and combine them at the beginning of the sentence as a compound subject. So Anne and Lee. Now I just have to think about what they're doing. So they're waiting for 2 days. Both of them are doing that. Because they share this predicate in common, it doesn't really sound good to just repeat that. Anne did it and Lee did it in the form of two distinct sentences. We'd rather just combine them together as one sentence since they're doing the same thing. Anne and Lee waited 2 days. Here, obviously, in the remaining portion, we don't even have a complete sentence. If you read it by itself, then recorded the plant's growth, it's pretty clear that we're missing a subject there, and so it doesn't qualify as a complete thought. But if we tack it on at the end of this, we do have a complete sentence, or rather, it forms a part of a complete sentence, then recorded the plant's growth. Let's look at our last example here. Lee prepared a slide for Anne. She put it under the microscope. Lee prepared a slide for Anne. She da-da-da. See, if you're reading it without sort of the intuitive grammar that you might read it with, where you would naturally pause after Anne, and you read it as it's written without any punctuation at all, you can see there's definitely an issue with that. So intuitively, we would know, or we should be able to recognize that a period ought to go there. Lee prepared a slide for Anne. This, of course, would be the beginning of the next sentence. She put it underwater. Alternatively, a conjunction would work just fine here as well. So I could put the conjunction and for one complete sentence. Lee prepared a slide for Anne, and she put it under the microscope. If I don't want to use a conjunction, I could just say, I could also use then. Then she put it under the microscope. Either one of those, or as before, separating the two complete ideas with a period. Hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next lesson.